need to read a message based on what we just discussed, right? Let me just read this. I say, what's up, man? We get tons of messages here. Good morning, Roots. This is based on the question I just asked Professor Waleke. You analyze like the other entitled people in Nigeria, talking about incentivizing holding of the Naira, i.e. savings and investment, with a shock emoji as if holding savings and investments is a bad thing. How many Nigerians have more than 500,000 Naira in their accounts? How can you save when you don't have food in your belly? Let's start to talk about how our policies affect the common man on the streets and not FPIs and HNIs. I then asked this person, are you invested in Nigeria? Do you own any stocks, bonds, or anything like that? No answer. Do you own a DOM account? Do you hold dollars? No answer. Silent. The point of these policies is that if you, we've had the Treasury bill chart up there. If everyone invests in these securities and it raises the demand for the Naira, that is the point of hiking rates. You are increasing the return on investment. And if everybody invests in them, the currency appreciates because you are more incentivized to hold Naira as opposed to speculating for dollars. And there is a pass-through effect. The pass-through effect that Professor Waleke just talked about, the transition effect in Nigeria is more foreign exchange than the rates. And so if you boost the currency and you have more people holding your local currency, you reduce as he talked about, the exchange rate has gone from a 1,800, it's about 1,006 or 1,005 now. It boosts the currency and impacts the man and woman on the street because the businesses who rely on a foreign exchange to import goods now pay less. And so the man and woman on the street are now impacted by that. So it is all connected. And I think that we are, there is a major disconnect in this country to where people are just sitting down talking about the man on the street, woman on the street, and they don't understand how the government policies, especially on the monetary side, which remember, price stability, that is the mandate of the Central Bank of Nigeria. So that is how it impacts. So it's all connected. And one more thing. There's a federal government savings bond that is opened at the beginning of every month. I talk about this thing every chance I get. It's a minimum of 5,000 Naira. You invest in it, you get a coupon rate for 3 quarters during the year. The rates are about 12 to 13%. That was at the last time the federal government saving bonds was offered from the Debt Management Office. At the next one, because the central bank has raised the benchmark interest rate, that rate will also go up as well. And it's a retail bond for regular people to invest and get returns.
I'm sorry, with due respect, do you know 001?
That's when you eat. You don't eat in the morning after only eat in the evening.
Have you done it before?
No, I bodybuild. I have to eat 6-7 times a day.
Bodybuilder, 6-7 times a day.
Yes, I eat.
Do you know the price of 1 derica of rice in the market?
We didn't get here by yesterday. Yeah, it's a lot. It's going up, right? Because of the pass-through effect of the exchange rates.
Do you know the price of 1 Congo of Gary?
What's your point? What's the point you want me?
The point I'm trying to make is Rosus. I'm sorry, with due respect.
Connect this to what the rate so.
Wait, see, that message is right. You are an elite now. You don't eat 6-7 times a day. Wait, let me finish with you now. You are an elite.
I'm not an elite.
You see that 5K you just mentioned? How many people have the 5K?
The point is to boost the currency. That is the point.
You see, when you were talking, a very prominent Nigerian, I'm not going to mention his name, sent me a message. And you read the message. Too much grammar jargon. This is a very educated Nigerian. I'm not going to mention his name. All of this thing, he's jargon for the man of the street, and all he just needs is to buy rice, beans, and 1 meat.
Do we import rice?
No, I'm asking you. Wait now, let me finish my point.
We used to have rice pyramid.
We had rice pyramid before. So
as recently as 2020.
That is the point. Let me finish. It's supposed to reduce the cost of rice for the everyday man on the streets. That is the point.
You don't understand the everyday man on the streets, with due respect to you. If you say, there are bonds of 5,000 Naira, people should be able to afford that. You have just shown that you have no understanding of what poverty is. Don't worry. I will bring you one of these days to Odobolu for my outreach program. You will get it afterwards.
Doctor, wait.
You will get it afterwards. Don't worry. You have no understanding of it.
CRR, right? At 45%. Would that not further constrain financial intermediation, capacity of the banks, to lend money? Even some people say CRR in reality, with some banks, is about 50%. Now, what will be the implications for the real sector? If the real sector has no access to credit to be able to function, right, will many of these companies not start retrenching staff? Unemployment, will it not go up? If more people are thrown into the labor market, is the poor man not affected? Do you see a chain here?
Doctor, there's something called net interest margins, right? And Rufai and his prominent person he's talking to, who's probably an elite, to say I'm blowing grammar again. Your net interest margin for a bank is the difference between the interest that you pay to a depositor and the interest you earn on the loans that you give out. Banks are going to benefit from their net interest margins from this repricing upwards of the benchmark interest rate for them, because they will earn more on loans that they give out. Now, the loans you're talking about, the everyday Nigerian, Nigerians are already priced out of loans in Nigeria anyway. The main beneficiaries or the main people that collect loans in this country are corporates, right? They are the ones that collect them. So they will earn more on their net interest margin, the difference between the interest paid on deposits and interest earned on loans, and it will benefit the banks. You have to look at both sides of the coin. And so that is the answer to that. Now, on the real sector, in terms of credit to the real sector, again, as far as who gets the credit, it is the corporates. You can actually, and look, by the way, corporates in Nigeria also give out securities which they use for borrowing, which they use for their everyday activities. They're called commercial papers. Commercial papers are also impacted, their rates for commercial papers are also impacted by the benchmark rate. The benchmark rate, again, is benchmark. It reprices everything. So the point about Rufai asking me about the price of Gary and rice, if you have more demand for Naira securities, if more of the people who are talking and saying that, you have to ask them whether they're invested in stocks, but if you have more demand for those things, you are boosting the currency. You hopefully bring the exchange rate down, right? And that impacts these food items that you are importing into the country. It is we cannot be disconnected. We cannot be disconnected.
Well, let me read this to you. This is another elite Nigeria.
Yes, tell us, elite.
This used to be an MD of, in fact, was the first indigenous MD of one of the biggest pharmaceutical companies in Africa. He said, and he runs the chance of pharmacies now. He said, my borrowing interest rate likely moves up to 3/4%, up from about 35% to 45% that I pay today. My costs rise, so are my prices. That fuels further inflation. My volume dips, I lay off staff. Banks and other finance institutions profit. This man has a big pharmaceutical chain across the country. He used to head one of the biggest pharmaceutical companies in this country before. What will you say to him?
I will say what you said about money supply. You remember when you've talked repeatedly about how we have a gargantuan amount of money supply in this country. You have too much money chasing too few goods. The monetary policy, again, price stability is their #1 mandate. And you've got Remy Cardoso at the MPC meeting yesterday said that over the previous 8 years, about 10 trillion naira was pumped into our system as a result of intervention programs. Those intervention programs, you don't have the productivity to match that money supply that is out there. So as a central bank where your mandate is price stability, you must hike the interest rates in order to suck the money out of the system. It is two sides of the coin. It's two sides of the coin. There's two sides.
The ordinary man does not know MPR.
Yes, sir.
The ordinary man does not know CRR.
And he doesn't have 5,000.
The ordinary man does not know liquidity ratio. Then we will be here when inflation will go beyond 30%, or it will hit maybe 35%. And then the bag of rice will not be 70,000 naira. It will probably be 100,000 naira. And that man that is laughing in the studio there in the background, who will have to buy a small Congo of rice, and he will be told he will have to pay 2,000 for a small Congo for him to eat. Then
you remember
we will all be here.
Months ago. We are going to be here. You remember 8 months ago. You remember our famous argument? Price discovery. You remember?
For me, let me look at interventions.
Yes.
We've looked at the impact on the real sector, especially in terms of credit and small businesses. The case for small businesses, if you look at the other cost of productions or factors of production, including diesel prices and the likes, what is the hope for the? I mean, they have been mulling ideas around intervention from the government government, what are some of these interventions that must happen to ensure that the shocks to these, to especially SMEs would not be such that we'll start to have businesses closing down because they just can't afford to run businesses. That's one. And the second thing I'd like you to touch on is also, and I'm glad that Professor Waleke talked about both monetary policy and fiscal policy, because one of the drivers of inflation is food inflation, of core inflation, food inflation, that this would not or does not directly address taming food inflation, because some of the challenges from the fiscal perspective around security, farmers going back to their farms hasn't been addressed. So I do understand and I do agree that we're going to see things get really, really bad before we begin to see this light at the end of the tunnel that you're trying to paint for us. But first of all, are interventions, because if we don't have these interventions in place, unfortunately, we're going to see these ripple effects. We talked about job losses. We're going to see companies or production not able to run. So what are some of the interventions that must be
we're having a monetary policy discussion here, right? This is everything we've talked about is about what the monetary side is doing.
I totally agree with you.
Interventions were discussed. Interventions, interventions have there's a cost benefit to an intervention. Yeah. If you are going to pump money into the sector to help A or B, what is the cost of that? The cost for Nigeria has been inflation. I mean, we are literally here talking about how rice has gone up, this has gone up. It is as a result of the inflation that galloped up due to interventions, many of them that didn't work. So you have to look at this thing from both sides of the coin. Ways and means, all these other things. What did we get? They are investigating ways and means. So look, we are where we are. All right, we didn't arrive here yesterday. Tough choices have to be made. And the Wale Edun yesterday, I think our correspondent in Abuja reported on the direct cash transfers that they're trying to put out to assist people as much as they can. On your second question was on
food inflation. Because it's going to drive. It still will drive up core inflation. But I don't think you responded to my first question in the sense that I'm looking at. In terms of access to credit, is there going to be any form of government support for small businesses to cushion the effect of this of the MPR?
Ayo, what does government support mean? But basically, what you're suggesting is an interest rate subsidy. Yes. So what you're saying is that if a business wants to go and get a loan from a bank, you are saying the government should step in and support no, they can't, because it's going to come at an extra cost to government.
So you already businesses run.
Ayo,
no, but during
during
the palliative last year, government announced this loan for small businesses at 9% interest rate.
That was for a period. That was from COVID. You're talking about
Which truth? I know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
During President Bola Tinubu's time, the time July last year, he announced those subsidies. He also announced a certain money for business. That I remember that we were talking about it there. I said, how are you going to get businesses to log on to that thing? You do it. You can do a competition for business and all of that. So, what of that money? What of business they give that money?
Look, money is finite, right? You've got the Bank
of Industry. I'm asking about that scheme.
Hold on.
Did it happen?
This is the thing. This is why they talked about the Orasai reports and collapsing different agencies and so on. You've got SMEDEN, right? Yeah. Small, Medium Enterprise Development Agency of Nigeria. You've got the BOI, the Bank of Industry, that is also supposed to be an intervention, an agency that's supposed to do these things. There is only so much support that you can give. And you see, this is why we're making an argument off air yesterday. I was telling you that it's possible Nigeria's government is not even big enough, because all these interventions, when you question the impact of that they have on the population, you are suggesting that the government does not have enough of a reach to meet up with the needs of the entire population. Well, you can say they're chopping. See, the point is, okay, I know we have to go. This is not a movie. It's reality. It's a really tough.
It's tough. This is good. This is good.
If this will make you happy, Trump won.